On today's show, we're on the board, ladies and gentlemen. Clippers with a big win in Denver. Still no Kawhi, but James Harden, Ivica Zubac, and Norman Powell put on a show. What led to the win, and what can we look forward to improve on going forward? Gonna be talking about it all on today's Locked On First Win of the Season Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA sports, LA Clipper, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Where I want you to let me know what you thought of this win, baby, in Denver, a place that we struggled to get wins for time. And those wins have been easier to get since the addition of James Harden, who had a huge game in this one. And before we get started, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just head over to FanDuel.com. What a weekend in LA. For those of you that are Clipper and Dodger fans, we are 2 games away from a World Series, so congratulations, and I am ecstatic about it. The other LA team's doing really well, but we don't really care about that over here. Clippers, 1-1, could easily have been 2-0. Get the win on Saturday night against the Denver Nuggets. Now, if you're wondering why I haven't talked about the Kawhi lawsuit situation, I'm going to wait for that to do an episode on Tuesday, I believe. Because we've got so much great stuff to talk about right now, including a big win. Clippers, Nuggets, 109-104. We did it with our defense, but in my opinion, there's 3 guys that I really got to delve deep on in terms of their performances. And it starts with who I think was the player of the game. You could go with any of these 3, but I'm going with James Harden just because he's the guy that is going to have the weight on his shoulders. He's the one that's going to be asked to create all the shots, that's going to be asked to handle the ball more than anyone. You know, probably will have a top 5, not usage percentage, because usage percentage is a formula that's skewed to shot takers, but in terms of the time of possession of the ball in his hands, James Harden will likely be top 5 in the league as far as until Kawhi comes back. And what that means is more Zubac Harden pick and rolls. This is the first time that Ivica Zubac has scored 20 plus points in back-to-back games in his entire career. And James Harden made the, kind of snarky quote after the game and said, "I wonder why," which is obviously saying it's because he's playing with me. And there's definitely some validity to that. I also think if it's Zubac is getting better, I think the lack of no Paul George and Kawhi Leonard is empowering him more. And I also think the coaching staff is trusting him. But a lot of it is James Harden and Zubac having more pick and roll reps. And the way that Zoo is catching and going up without hesitation, it's exactly what we've been wanting to see on a consistent basis for many, many years now. And that push shot is so money right now, that little floater he's got in the lane. There was even one time where Terrence Mann was pushing the ball and left it off to Zoo in transition running full speed. He caught it and put it up right away and didn't overshoot it. I thought that was a very underrated, tough shot for a big running full speed, because it's one thing to catch that pass in the middle of the lane on a pick and roll and put it up when you're going in normal, like just stepping into it pace. But when you're sprinting kind of like full speed and you catch the ball, it's super easy to put too much power on that shot. So that was impressive. But James Harden, I just thought he was wheeling and dealing. Great reads and pick and roll. Has looked pretty good in terms of bursts so far this season, which it took him a little while to get going with that last season. He blew by Jamal Murray a couple of times. He even blew by one of the best defenders in the league in Aaron Gordon once. So he was getting in the paint. He was making plays. Norm was really hitting off of those. But he was just masterful, in my opinion, the way he controlled the game. I didn't think he had too many moments of over-dribbling or anything like that. I think with Harden, you know what you're going to get. You're not going to get a guy that's going to play crazy defense. You're hoping that he can just play good enough. And so far in the first 2 games, I think he has been good enough on that end. He's not going to move without the ball, but he's going to be the best decision maker and best playmaker with the ball in his hands. And the one thing I'll only get mad at him for in terms of off ball is I know he's not going to move really, but he had a corner three that he passed up. It was wide open. He didn't take it. But besides that, I mean, the guy was really in command, and I thought he did a great job of getting Norman Powell going early just by being the trigger man and feeding him the ball off of the actions that were run for Norm, which is often that curl to the right. Whether he comes off one screen, he comes off two screens, or he comes off that dribble handoff with Zoo, Norm going from left to right. Sometimes Harden can be that trigger man and get him the ball going to the right, and he was doing a pretty good job of that. I thought he was doing a good job of getting Zoo involved and just taking what the defense gave without doing too much. I think he pushed all the right buttons in this game, and I actually really liked the way he played. The one thing that scares me, but honestly it doesn't scare me anymore because we're not really in championship contention right now by any means. If Kawhi comes back, I still don't think it's a championship roster, but it's not as far off as people think. And when I say people, I mean the outsiders. Because if Kawhi comes back, you mix him in with this defense, and you have Harden as a second option who's proven that he can, do some big things. We've got a really solid team. And if Kawhi's addition into the lineup doesn't take away from what Zoo's doing so well so far, then we have a chance to be very scary. Because the defensive personnel, I'm going to talk about that in the second segment, is so good. And we're starting to see it firsthand as the season's begun. But the foul baiting, let's say we were actually in a championship conversation, the foul baiting from Harden scares me a bit, and a lot of it's when he shoots jumpers. Now look, I know there's got to be some fouls here, but it feels like every time he shoots a contested jumper, it's either a foul or he tries to get a foul. And that worries me. It's one thing I did not like about him before we got him. I'm okay with it if we can get the call, but I also want him to just, shoot the ball normally and not always beg for the foul. But the passes he was making, the wraparounds, the pocket passes, the weak side swings, I mean, big time plays. And then the last, it's funny because the way we took the lead, it was, Nuggets fans are probably saying that Harden was foul baiting there. And it was a very complicated call. The refs took a long time to decide what they wanted with that. And it was Harden getting downhill, initiating contact with a little off-arm push. Aaron Gordon then puts his hand in the cookie jar trying to go slap down for the ball. Harden smartly kind of gets his arm, but it wasn't enough for a hook. Although I thought they might have overturned it for a hook. And then he threw it up, and it didn't seem like much of a foul there. But I guess that initial contact after Harden had that little push-off where Gordon put his hand in the cookie jar is what caused the foul. And how about James Harden, after missing those big free throws in the opening night at Intuit Dome, knocking down all the big ones in this game? In addition to that, he had that nice step back from the right elbow to give us the 198 lead. Lawler's Law, 2-0 so far this season. The Phoenix Suns were able to get to 100 first the other night. And then the Clippers, off of that James Harden step back, get to 100 first on Saturday night. So I thought James Harden, for me, he was my player of the game. I just thought that he dictated everything. You know what I'm saying? And without him bringing us home, I just don't think we get home. For him, what a stat line. How about 23 points, 6 rebounds? I think he's done a very good job rebounding the ball so far, too. 16 assists. Let me repeat that. 16 assists. Are we potentially talking about James Harden getting back in the assist title conversation? I mean, the ball's going to be in his hands a lot. He did have 7 turnovers, though, and I'm going to be honest with you, it didn't feel like he had 7 turnovers. So, oftentimes I'll say it didn't feel like this guy had 10 rebounds. It didn't feel like this guy had 16 assists. And to be honest, with James Harden, 16, it didn't feel like that. It probably felt there were some shots that, he swung the ball and then they made it happen. And that's not a James Harden thing. That's a league-wide thing. But at least 10 of them, were James Harden just threading the needle and making a great pass that led to a bucket. So while 16 assists, you're like, damn, really 16? At least 10 of them were legit, not generously given type. And I'm watching a Laker game after too, and LeBron has 7 rebounds, and Stu Lance goes, really? And it's just especially when teams don't try to go for offensive rebounds, some rebounds just fall to guys, and you don't even notice it, And a lot of the stats like that in today's NBA with how fast the game is, and there's so many shots being put up that stats are just going to be a little inflated relative to 20 to 30 to 40 years ago. But here's the thing, right? James Harden was amazing. I talked about that. How about Ivica Zubac, though? Finishing off of James Harden, running the floor well, great rim protection, and does a really solid job on Jokic. Now, Jokic, He's been struggling from three. If you go back to last year's playoffs and you go to the Olympics, he was struggling from three. But on Saturday night, he was draining everything. It was crazy. He kind of came back to life, and I guarantee you that part of the Clippers' game plan was to give Jokic threes, and he was just hitting them left and right. Some of them were even contested, and that inverted pick and roll is super hard to guard. And what I mean by that is when Jokic has the ball and Gordon sets him a screen. Because if you go over that screen, if you're a center, the guy that's dropping or the guy that's helping is a smaller guy. So Jokic can kind of overpower that guy. And if you throw two at the ball, then Gordon's there for the lob, and whoever's rotating has to basically fight Aaron Gordon in the air and try to get to that pass before him, which is very hard. So what teams do is they'll go under that screen with Jokic has the ball, so you're conceding the three. And Minnesota did that, and it worked for them in the playoffs. But tonight, or Saturday night, it just didn't work for the Clippers. But here's the thing. Jokic ends up having 41 to be exact, but he only has 4 assists. And Jamal Murray, yeah, he had 22, but everybody else, Aaron Gordon only 10, MPJ 9. And Aaron Gordon and MPJ combined for 7 for 23 shooting. And then you're getting nothing from the bench, including our friend Russell Westbrook, who went 0 for 8 in his first game against us. And I thought his defense was very good. There were 2 times he took the ball from James Harden, but offensively, running into similar struggles that we saw with the Clippers and the Lakers, quite frankly, if he wasn't surrounded with shooters. And I thought the whole premise of bringing in Westbrook was to have him play next to Jokic, but there was a large stretch in that first half where he was in without Jokic, and he was playing with the Peyton Watsons of the world, the Julian Strathers. And, I mean, if he doesn't have – and Strawther can really shoot it, but if he's not really surrounded by great shooters and maybe a good screen setter, yeah, Russ is not that kind of guy to create a bunch of offense for you anymore with that lineup. He needs to play off of other great players that hide his deficiencies. And he did get some open shots, missed them, did get some of those fast break layups or full speed layups that he's going too fast. And, I mean, I like Westbrook, so I'm not going to say it was satisfying, but to a degree, he didn't play very well in this game. 0 for 8. And Kris Dunn, when we talk about defense-first approaches, I haven't even talked about Norman Powell. I guess coming up, we're going to talk about how great Norman Powell was and the defense-first approach. But my moral of the story, James Harden was the player of the game. Double-double, emphatic impact on getting us good shots throughout the game, and he closed and made the big free throws. JH, big win. My player of the game. Let me know your player of the game in the comments, but coming up, going to be talking about another candidate for that, Norman Powell. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So they had the Clippers finishing 12th in the West. Honestly, first 2 games, I'd say bet on that because we could easily be better. You get Kawhi back, we're not going to be 12th, I can promise. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Clippers beating the Denver Nuggets in the altitude, 109-104. The Denver Nuggets are 0-2 to start the year, and I have to say about them, because it's going to apply to what I'm about to talk about with the defense, we are a great defensive team right now, right? We're showing that we're going to be a great defensive team. We have defensive-first guys all over the rotation, but the Denver Nuggets offense, it is not what it once was. Their bench is pretty weak. It's Westbrook and young dudes. Christian Brown, who's one of their biggest pieces of their title off the bench in 2023, is now starting. He has not proven himself as a starter for me. Let's see what he did in this game. He had a couple of buckets, but yeah, he shot well in this game. 11.7 boards, 4 for 6 in the field, 1 for 1 from 3. So I guess by all accounts, if you're looking at it from a Denver Nuggets perspective, that's a good game for him. But I'm still not convinced about Christian Brown as a starting shooting guard in the league. And then you already have a non-shooter in Aaron Gordon. And then Westbrook is obviously not a shooter. And then Christian Brown's shooting is a little suspect. Peyton Watson's not shown that he can shoot the ball very well. And then Dario Saric is not even a real 5 coming off the bench. He should be a 4. He's too small to be a 5. He gets attacked at the rim. The Nuggets just don't have that same firepower by losing KCP. They just don't offensively, so it makes them easier to guard. But this Clipper team, they have a defense-first approach right now. And it's with Jeff Van Gundy involved, and you have the Kris Dunns, and you have Nico and Terrence and Derrick Jones. But we need the offense, right, to get across the finish line. We knew that was going to be the biggest question mark for us. And guess who showed up when we needed him? Besides Harden, who I mentioned. Norman Powell. Norman Powell, who I've heard some fans say is overpaid, makes $19 million a year in today's NBA where everybody's getting a bunch of money. And he's as efficient as it gets when it comes to a guy that's, for us, has been scoring off the bench the last couple of years. And he does it without needing the ball too much. You know what I'm saying? He comes off those curls. He comes off screens. He catches and shoots. He attacks closeouts. He's got a quick trigger. It's not too much thinking. And yes, at times he doesn't think enough and he just pulls. But you like a guy with uber aggression and confidence. You know, you'd rather have that than what we see from Terrence sometimes, and we saw a little bit tonight where he's hesitant, he's pump faking unnecessarily, he's just looking a little hesitant. And look, that hesitation from Terrence, it's going to cost him his starting job if he continues, right? First game, I thought he was excellent. Tonight, or Saturday night, not great. Lost off the ball a couple times against Jamal Murray. I mean, made some decent passes, I guess. A lot of cardio, if I'm being real. Like a lot of cardio from Terrence. And it wasn't detrimental, in my opinion. Not necessarily detrimental. But he played 20 minutes. He had 0 points, and he's starting, by the way. 0 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. At least he doesn't turn the ball over, and he was 0 for 4. He missed 2 threes. One of them was way long, and it just didn't look very good. Second one, he caught the ball on a cut and didn't go up strong. Gave it to a little pass to Zoo. Then he got the ball back, reset for a corner 3. And it was a good look. It was in and out. And then there was one tip he missed. Then another shot in the beginning of the game where he was basically on an island at the end of a shot clock. And they were like, yeah, Terrence, go to work. And MPJ got away with a little hand check. And Terrence is not good enough to score in the NBA with the hand check right now. But Norman Powell, how great was he? It started from the beginning of the game. 8 points right away. But fourth quarter Norm. We've seen some really big performances in the fourth quarters from Norman Powell since he's been a Clipper. But that fourth quarter on Saturday night was absolutely ridiculous. 3 after 3 after 3. And he even had an ISO against Jamal Murray. And he's like, yo, Dime, you talking about my self-creation ability? Because he's took Jamal Murray right to the left side and hit that floater. He said, you talking about my right hand? He still shot the floater with his right hand, but going left, I like to see it. And look, I love Norman Powell. I've liked him since UCLA. I just don't know about how reliable he's going to be as a creator, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Norm just needs a bigger chance to get busy. Because the thing is, though, if you look at a lot of his shots in this game, a lot of it are like threes off the catch and like semi-transition and pulling when he's hot. Only like 1 or 2 are him like getting downhill and like kind of scoring on self-creation. But geez, that was his Clipper career high. He had 20 points in the fourth. 20 points in the fourth. And some of the shots, I'm looking, 22 by the way. Some of the shots, and I'm looking over at my dad was watching it with. And we were like, oh my God, like this dude is scorching. He's just catching it and firing his hand in the face. 8 for 9 in the fourth. 4 for 4 from deep. 22 points in the quarter alone. 37 from Norman. I think defensively he's been very solid effort-wise to begin the year. He started out guarding, I forget who in this one, but Terrence was on Murray, and I was kind of surprised on that. I thought Derrick Jones would guard him. And it didn't end up being too detrimental, but Murray did lose Terrence Mann off the ball a couple times. Harden was guarding Aaron Gordon, Zoo on Joker, and I love when we just let Zoo guard Joker one-on-one with no help. Make him make a tough shot, and look, he's going to, but a lot of teams have figured out that they've had some success by just letting Jokic dominate, but then limiting everyone else. I think Zoo does such a good job of making life tough on Joker. Derrick Jones Jr. was on Michael Porter Jr., so I was a little surprised that it wasn't Terrence on MPJ and Derrick on Jamal Murray, but it is what it is. Murray breaks some open shots. And by the way, as far as pick and roll coverage, Jokic, they always kind of play that like hedge or show and recover and then rely on that back line to rotate. And I thought Harden did a pretty good job of feeding guys in the short roll or just in the roll in general. But Jokic was kind of in that high drop or like that soft hedge. Speaking of defense first mindset. So, by the way, Zubac, Norm, James Harden. I mean, a little big three action. How about Zubac? 24 points, 15 rebounds. What a monster stat line. 4 assists. This is against the best player in the league, by the way. And a block. He did turn the ball over 3 times, though. So 10 of our 16 turnovers from Zoo and Harden. But he was 11 for 17 from the field. And how about Zubac with 17 shot attempts? You love to see it. And 39 minutes. So for all of us wondering, can Zoo play over 30 minutes? Look, I've said for many years, if Zoo averages 30-plus minutes, he's going to be a walking double-double. Well, Clipper Nation, by the looks of things, especially without Kawhi, we're potentially looking at 18 and 11 type numbers, which would put him in most improved player conversations. And do I think he's really improved that much? Year by year, yes. But not all of a sudden after last year. It's called opportunity, and it's called the coaching staff getting their head out of their ass. And, of course, more James Harden picking roles and him, that synergy. But 24, 15, and 4 on 11 for 17 shooting, 2 for 3 from free throw line for Zoo. Norm, if you want him to be your player of the game, by all means, I am okay hearing that. 37 points, 3 rebounds on 14 for 21 shooting. And how about this one? 7 for 11 from 3. That's insane. 2 for 3 from the foul line. And then James Harden, only 5 for 11 from the field and had 23 points because he had 13 free throw attempts. 12 for 13 from the foul line. Just 1 for 5 from 3 for James. But yes, he was getting to that line. And it's like, I'm really wondering, are all these fouls on jump shots really fouls? Because he sells it. Like, even on that last one, he's cocking his head back before. Like, he doesn't even get contact in the face area. He's just cocking his head back. He sells it like no other. I don't think anybody's ever been able to draw fouls quite like James. So, hey, man, we're a team that struggled to get to the line the last couple of years, so we'll take what we can get. But Clippers win it. They shoot 49% from the field, 36% from 3, 81% from the foul line. Win it 109-104. We also won the rebounding battle 44-37 and the assist battle 30-20. So we look really good in so many of these categories. You love to see it. And coming up, what more can we build on? We've talked about Zoo, Norm, and Harden. What about those other guys? What can they do a little better going forward, and what worked well for us in this game? Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I just used Game Time for the Clippers home opener against the Suns and for the World Series, NLCS Game 1, and it was really good. So I recommend it. And with the lowest price guarantee that Game Time gives you, if you don't get it, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Ooh. All right, Clipper Nation, we're on the board with a win at the Denver Nuggets. What a win. Didn't expect that one. Our old friend Russell Westbrook, every time he shot a 3, I was like, Russ, you're doing us a favor, buddy. But how about his replacement, Kris Dunn? Very good game. Really solid on-ball D, even good off-ball D, creating offensive fouls by his great screen navigation off the ball. And when we're talking screen navigation, Derrick Jones Jr., off-ball and on, so good. There was even that one play in the beginning of the game where he stunted at Jokic, kind of had him hesitating on a shot, gets back to his man. Jokic shoots the 3, misses, and he kind of threw off the rhythm of his catch and shoot opportunity there. And he's just so active with his hands, had some really nice finishes in this game, made some open threes. I love having Derrick Jones Jr. as a Clipper, and he's so athletic. 9 points to go along with a rebound, an assist, a block, and a steal. He did turn the ball over 3 times. So let's combine Harden, Derrick Jones, and Zoo. A combined 13 out of the 16 turnovers from them. But I was very pleased with Derrick. 4 for 8 from the field. Just 1 for 4 from 3, though. So I said he made a couple threes. He only made 1. Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey, both are homegrown boys, combined for 0 for 9 from the field. Amir was very quiet, and what was weird is he ended this game. And I was very shocked that he ended the game over Kris Dunn. I know Kris Dunn had 5 fouls, but he was excellent. Just excellent. 11 points, 6 rebounds, an assist on 4 for 6 shooting. And how about this one? We talked about how hesitant Kris Dunn has been in preseason shooting the ball. 3 for 5 from 3, including a 3 right in Westbrook's face. I mean, that was pretty satisfying. So, Kris Dunn, keep shooting that ball. Keep shooting that ball. Just build confidence in that shot. Because defensively, the guy is stellar. Played 19 minutes, and he was in double figures. Amir Coffey, I don't really have much to say. Kind of the same as Terrence. But honestly, he got even better looks, and he missed 3 really good looks at 3. I'm surprised that Ty ended with him. I think maybe just because of versatility defensively, but it's like, I don't get it because Kris Dunn's defense is even better than Amir Coffey. I was a little perplexed at that. If anybody can figure out why, I would love to know. Offense? I mean, you can't say offense when Kris Dunn's making threes. So I don't really know what the justification for that was because we didn't put Kris Dunn back in. At least I don't remember us putting Kris Dunn back in. I'll double check that. I also want to talk about Kevin Porter real quick. All right, look, I'm going to be very honest. Everybody's been advocating for this guy, and I think we should be patient with him a little bit. But he doesn't play what I consider winning basketball from what I've seen right now. He dribbles a ton. He does that same thing that Paul George used to do where he's got the step and then he snatches it back. He also sometimes just has a little bit of a step and doesn't engage in the combat in terms of going to someone's chest to create separation or to get into the defender and put pressure on the ref. He'll snatch it back and shoot a contested step back. He's just kind of chucking out there. I don't really know what else to say. He's kind of just chucking out there. And I remember when Jokic came out of the game, I saw Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy talking. Like, the camera showed them talking, and I saw Jeff Van Gundy mouth to Ty, switch 1 through 5, and then Ty said, yeah. And that's when we put Nico in and had that small ball lineup, and it actually did pretty well. In the beginning, it was just KPJ bricking shots, but then we kind of slowly got into it with our defense, because Jokic wasn't in, so we're switching everything. And we have that personnel with Nico, with guys like Kris Dunn, Amir Coffey. Like, they can do that. They can guard multiple positions. And then Kevin Porter Jr. had that dunk that got us an 18-point lead. But the Nuggets, they're going to come back. They're going to fight hard. You know how it goes. And by the way, at one point, Ty Lue went with a total bench unit. Just all bench players. Kai Jones, who only played in this game, I think, by the way, let me just double check if Kris Dunn got brought back into the game. No, he didn't. He did not come back in the game. So that's what was interesting for me is when Harden came back in for him with 7 minutes left, we just didn't put him back in. It ended up being okay in the end. But Kai Jones in this game, he only played, let's take a look. I think only 5 minutes or something. 3 minutes, 44 seconds. He had a donut, 2 rebounds. So we had 3 rotation players out of the 10 with donuts in this one. Amir, Terrence, and Kai Jones. But you got 11 from Kris Dunn. Nico gave you 1 point on a free throw, but he's I thought his defense was really good, though, when he first came into the game. He had some really nice passes, some great moments. He blocked Westbrook at the rim. He's just so smart defensively. A good on-ball defense against Murray. He's just so long. But offensively, he's so passive. But here's the thing about him and even Terrence at times in this game. They're still sitting in the corner and spreading the floor. And as far as Terrence is concerned, if I'm defenses, I would definitely try to sag off of him and sink and get ready to help on Zoo on the roll and make Zoo or James Harden pass to Terrence. Because I've noticed a small hesitation from Harden to pass to Terrence so far early in this season. And I would just test his 3-ball out, especially because right now, he just missed those 2 threes. So let's see what he's shooting for the season if they have those stats. Let's take a look. Yeah, they already have the stats for this season, right? He's shooting 0% from 3 right now. He hasn't made a 3 yet. So if I'm defenses, I would let him shoot right now. I would. But in this game, they were treating him still like, a decent shooter. And he and Batum, I think at the very least, they're spreading the floor. So it could be much worse. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're Terrence had 0 turnovers. Nico had 0 turnovers. Those kinds of things. Nico didn't even shoot. So he's not taking the ball, he's not taking shots away from anybody. Terrence Mann needs to take a little bit more shots away from people, though. He's just passing up some shots, but I mean, that's the thing I like about those guys is that they're not going to hurt you too much, in my opinion. Now, if teams get hip to Terrence being hesitant to shoot, then like last season, it will be detrimental. It'll hurt our offense, but it's not like a total catastrophe where he's bad on both ends. I think he can be better defensively, but it's not he's not costing us. Now, every time Amir and Terrence don't perform, there are going to be rumblings now of Jordan Miller. And look, he's on a two-way contract, guys. I want Jordan Miller to get an opportunity as much as any one of you, but he's on a two-way contract. He's only eligible to play 50 games. And I don't think if you take Terrence or Amir out of the rotation, especially Terrence who just got paid, think of what you're doing to them psychologically. I know it's not a charity. You're not supposed to feel bad for people in the business, but it's been one game. People are like going at Terrence Mann on Twitter. It's like outrageous. But James Harden, Norman Powell, Ivica Zubac, the stars. I love our defensive pressure, our defensive personnel. Jeff Van Gundy's clearly done a great job. The coaching staff's done a great job. And yeah, we went on a 16-0 run in that second quarter, but they hit a couple of threes that got him back in it. And yeah, third quarter was very even. Harden was kind of carrying our offense. And then the fourth quarter, as I said, Norm brought us home with an incredible 22-point fourth quarter. And yeah, credit to Harden for making those big free throws. But what a win. Am I forgetting anyone? Kevin Porter had 4 points on 2 for 10 shooting and 2 turnovers, and he was 0 for 3 from deep. Did not get to the foul line. So, I don't know. First 2 games, not been too impressed. I'm not opposed to just subbing him out and getting Bones Highland in there. It's already uncomfortable enough rooting for him anyway. But if he's going to just chuck, and yes, if someone's going to say I'm being hypocritical by saying be patient with like Terrence and Amir and don't be so reactionary, and then me with KPJ, let me put it this way. KPJ was on the most dysfunctional team in the history of the NBA, and it's not coincidence, got into a near brawl with a very respected assistant coach in the league. He got suspended at USC, and I'm a USC fan, and he's out here just gunning. I don't know. I'm pro Bones Highland. Maybe because he's one of our own. I think KPJ is better than him, but like at this point, whatever. I'm not saying KPJ should get taken out of the rotation next game. I'm just saying I wouldn't mind if it happened. But partially it's because he potentially has a domestic, he potentially beat up Kyrie Gondrzic. That's part of it as well. I'm not going to lie anymore. And he's not he literally thinks he's James Harden. He's not. He's a talented player, and he can be better. He really can. So far, first 2 games, not so great. Does it matter, though, because we won? Not really. We'll take it. 109-104, and guess what? We're back in action against the Warriors on Sunday, so buckle up and get ready for it. If we can get 2 wins, that'd be huge, but they're playing good basketball to start the year. But let me know what you think, guys. It was a great win. James Harden, my player of the game, but if you want to go with Norm or Zoo, by all means. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I've been going live to talk about all LA sports and have a vlog out about opening night. 9,000 views so far. Keep checking it out. I've been interviewing tons of fans, including a ton of listeners like you. And by the way, I just want to also say to the listeners, there are so many of you that don't comment on YouTube and stuff. And I always forget how big the audience that I'm talking to really is. So I just want to say, when I talk about certain sets and stuff, and say things like double drag and certain terms like that, let me know if you want me to define what those mean, because I don't want to be too technical on here, because I see how big the audience is, and some people have varying levels of basketball knowledge, and I'm always trying to inform, but I also don't want to just sound like I'm saying big words to sound smart, which a lot of content creators try to do, is just use. First of all, so many different sets are just called different things. The same sets are just called different things. People like saying the names because it makes them think they sound smart. I coach at several levels. I don't need to say all that stuff to make myself sound smart. I don't need to sound smart. Hopefully I'm sounding a little smart, but it's go Clippers all the way. And that's why I think we won, because we did it on defense. Zubac is a beast. Where are the Zoo haters at now? Just because he's a European big without athleticism. He does a lot of great things on the court. He's got really good touch. He's a very good rim protector. And now that we have real point of attack defenders around him, real good on-ball perimeter defenders, you're going to see just how good Zubac is. And we have an elite pick and roll player now with Harden that's going to show you how good Zubac is. 20 and 10? Imagine if he averaged that. Without Kawhi, I don't think it's out of the question. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers. Warriors next.